Hello there, my name is Victor Ogunyika, and you're welcome to the midweek edition of Today in the News, and of course all of those newspapers across the Federation, and looking at the major headlines everywhere.
Over 1,000 people are benefiting from free medical services provided by the FCT chapter.
Interested in this news. Arsenal's first club transfer record signed Pep.
Morning viewers, you're welcome to Vanguard Live. Of course, it's your morning program Today in the News. Here we'll give in-depth analysis on the front pages of the newspapers across Nigeria. I'm Damilola Ogushaki, and I'm with my lovely co-host, Precious Chifude. Precious, good morning.
Good morning, Dami. Did you enjoy the rain of yesterday?
Oh my God, I enjoyed it. I actually changed my room. I left my own room. I went to my younger brother's room, to stay near the window because I wanted to feel the fresh air.
You know, the funny part is, in a long time, I'm happy to be awake this morning because the heat has been very, very unbearable. And I woke up this morning and I just felt alive. Like the weather was just
cool.
I wasn't even sweating,
but I felt that on the other side because the road was wet, your shoes stained. But I didn't regret it. It was really lovely. That's what I've been praying for.
Exactly.
Okay, without wasting much time, let's go straight to the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. And coronavirus. 58 on the watch in Lagos, Ogun. Italian, 70% stable. 19 cases in Lagos, 39 in Ogun being watched. This is coming from Nigerian Center for Disease Control. Index case not exhibiting more symptoms, says Mamora. Weak health system should worry Nigerians. This is coming from the doctors. Sanwo-Olu summons emergency meeting, says 2 foreigners test negative in Lagos. Chinese in Plateau test negative. Federal government is saying this, and details can be found in page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Now, moving on to other stories, ex-INEC chair Iwu claims cure for COVID-19. Details can be found on page 9. And on page 8, coronavirus, don't hike prices or face masks, sanitizers. Federal government wants suppliers and retailers. IMF, World Bank pledge assistance to COVID-19 affected members countries. Details can be found on page 9. And moving on to other stories, on the above the nameplates, minimum wage, industrial unrest looms universities, and details can be found on page 10. Also on page 10, NCEF task go on Obasanjo Danjuma to save Nigeria from Islamism. Fresh Kaduna killings, no negotiation with terrorists, bandit says El-Rufai, as Buhari vows to punish victims. And details can also be found on page 10. And from Vanguard newspaper, we'll move straight to the Guardian.
And on the Guardian newspaper, we have major headlines. Stakeholders demand terms for $47 billion Chinese loan. Project execution, how they are shrouded in secrecy. FEC accused of taking over procurement process. You can find more on that story on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And also we have a picture of the chief executive of African Leadership magazine, Ken Giami, and famous DJ Copy, and as well as Africa Development Bank Akinwumi Adesina, taking the African Leadership Magazine Award. And we have on page 3, Supreme Court adjourns here's Imo Guba ruling review today. Still on page 3, we have Nigerians face harder times as OPEC moves 2.7 million daily court. And also on page 5, we have El-Rufai apologizes for failure to provide security for Kaduna residents. And lastly, on the Guardian, we have why we haven't arrested suspects who laundered 35 billion naira arms fund by EFCC. You can see more on that story on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Away from the Guardian, we move to the Punch.
And on the front page of the Punch, coronavirus, government faces difficulties tracing Italian co-passengers. Passengers on safe flights with index case gave non-functional phone numbers. Federal government orders Turkish Airlines to place crew members under observations. Details can be found on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. And moving on to other stories, task force demolishes illegal structures at Mile 2, and you can see more of that stories on page 5. Oshimonat owes Oluo demands 100 million naira for assets. Details can be found on page 12. North Central won't form joint security outfits. This is coming from Nasarawa governor, and you can see it on page 21. Kwara, Saraki out of court, talks have collapsed council, tells courts. You can see more of this on page 41. Hoodlums vandalize cars, steals parts in Lagos community. They revisit Abeokuta, meets Obasanjo behind closed doors, and details can be found on page 12. And on stories above the nameplates, Kaduna massacre, we won't negotiate with bandits, says Erufai. And you can find more on this on page 26. Power distributors' revenue collection rises to 473 billion naira. You can see this on page 30. And lastly, on the front page of the Punch, sacked Bayelsa deputy governor-elect wants to commit suicide. This is coming from Silver, and you can see this on page 12. And then from the Punch, we go straight to Daily Trust.
And on Daily Trust, we have major story. Federal government searching for passengers on aircraft with Italian patients. Phone numbers of co-travelers unreachable. Contact list now over 100. Lagos government. Evil others find cure. Importers count losses. There's also a photo story of Accra Rangers Squad of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps in Cross River State, showcasing their skills during the celebration of the 2020 International Civil Defense Day in Calabar yesterday. And on page 3 of the Daily Trust, we have cardinal killings. Bandits can't establish terror reign, says Buhari. And we have on page 10 473,137 youths enrolled into Empower scheme, federal government. And also we have on page 49 Senate's most peaceful in Nigeria's democratic history. And lastly on Daily Trust we have Dangote, Zenith Bank for others post 941 billion naira profit. You can see more on that story on page 16 of Daily Trust. And away from Daily Trust newspaper, we move to The Nation.
And on the front page of The Nation, COVID-19, 158 aboard plane with Italian can't be traced. Sanwo-Olu raises the alarm. Lagos State for hand washing. New cases in Egypt, Algeria, we have discovered its cure. Details can be found on page 8. And on the front page, we have a photo stories of commuters on the train in Mulan, Italy, cover up completely in fear of coronavirus. And on this picture, we can see 3 people who are covered completely, and a guy that's just smiling and looking at 3 of them. Kaduna villagers to Buhari, save us. We counted 51 bodies. El-Rufai promises death for bandits. Presidencies, government sustain offensive against bandits. Details can be found on the front page, and also it continues on page 8. Buhari, Tinubu, Abiodun greet Adeboye at 78. Is truthful, and you can find more of this on page 39. Osun reverts to 6334 education policy, same uniform scraps. You can find more of this on page 42. And INEC proposes 34 changes to Electoral Act, lawmakers for retreats. Akeredolu seeks 7 billion naira refund on roads. Details can be found on page 42. And lastly, on the front page of The Nation, GT Bank declares 82.4 billion naira dividend. And you can see these on page 37. And that is all we have on the paper review for this morning. Join us after the break while we give the in-depth analysis on some of these stories on the front page. And don't go anywhere, as we'll be looking more into this. So stay with us, we'll be back.
If you are a parent, chances are you're worried and have questions about just how contagious coronavirus is and whether your child could be at risk. Misinformation has cropped up across the internet since coronavirus, or COVID-19 as it's now called, began spreading. So we asked UNICEF's health experts to get us the facts. Here are 6 things they think you should know. The virus is transmitted through direct contact with respiratory droplets from an infected person and by touching surfaces that are contaminated. Tell your children to maintain at least 3 feet of distance between themselves and people who are coughing, sneezing, and have a fever. Symptoms of coronavirus can include fever, cough, and shortness of breath. In more severe cases, infection can cause pneumonia or breathing difficulties. More rarely, the disease can be fatal, but that's mainly among older people with pre-existing conditions. Wash your hands frequently for at least 20 seconds using soap and water or an alcohol-based hand rub.
Alright, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today in the News. Here we read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories making headlines on the newspapers across Nigeria. And we'll be starting, with the front page of Vanguard, which is the coronavirus that has been spreading. So on Monday yesterday, the federal government, they vowed to deal with foreign airlines that are not that violates the coronavirus screening processes. And we have the Minister of Health, Sage, where he said some of the passengers, they gave wrong numbers on the screening forms. And I remember that, reading some of the reports with lots of people that they gave the screening, those coming into Nigeria, saying that they saw most people giving wrong information on these screening forms, and at a later time it's very difficult to trace them. But also, the Minister of Health Sage said that Turkish airline, that the Turkish airline also brought their own index for the passengers so that they can contact them. But they saw that some of the numbers were not working. And if you can recall, some people when they're just coming into Nigeria, maybe fresh people coming in, they might not have the numbers. So at the end, they'll give numbers that are switched off, that are not working. So I think this is one of the challenges they are facing for the screening of this coronavirus. And we also have the doctor and union leader at Federal Capital Centers at Idiaba Abeokuta. They revealed that 5 Chinese people came to the hospital there, and they were driven away by medical experts that became complaining that they are one of their roommates, ECU, so they're asking for how to bring him to the hospital, but they were driven away because there was no facilities in the hospital, to test the person, so they just directed the person to Yama for this COVID-19. Although some of the officials that were contacted said they were yet to be briefed about this incident. So what is your take on this? We consider that everybody, we have everybody trying to contain this virus, and we have the old negotiations, the old Nigerians panicking that this is an inter-Nigeria, and we have people who went straight to the hospital, to submit themselves and see. We have someone like that who are strange symptoms to COVID-19, and they're just telling the person, go to another hospital. Even if you don't have the facility, I believe we should have.
Okay, I think that there's still like some strong fear with people, and some of the medical practitioners themselves are also still very scared, to attend to the right bodies. But we can't like blame them in particular, because we don't even know who these people met when they got to the hospital. So because if they met the right authorities, they could have met maybe a cleaner or anybody who seems to look like a medical person.
The officers, the authorities actually said they've not been briefed about the incident. I think this is just from some of the sources in the hospital. And you have more of the.
And yes, the fact that the federal government still to throw more light on what you're saying, the fact that they're saying that people who came into the country together with the Italian, they've not been able to get across to some of them because of wrong numbers or inability to access to them. Because a lot of times some people when they're coming down to the country, they don't have their number here. They have their like abroad line, so it's hard to communicate with them and all those kind of things. And some people too might have just come for maybe a summit or something, maybe a 1 or 2 day event and just go back. So means on how to track them is really hard. But they say that they are working towards, you know, trying to find these people so that, you know, they can do something. And already too, they are saying that over like 100 persons who came in contact with the Italian, you know, they've, you know, tracked them and they are quarantining them right now, you know, so to find out if they have any form of, you know, virus.
You know, in reaction to the screening going on in the airports, you know, so some of the people who just came into Nigeria were talking that they were really impressed with the screening process going on, that you know, that it's really showing that people are really working, the federal government is working, you know, to contain this coronavirus, stop it from entering the country. You know, people were really giving their opinions. But we also have Dr. Wu said that they found a cure for coronavirus. You know, he said, that they've discovered the cure. The president of the discovery of the Minister of Science and Technology, he presented it to the Minister of State Health, Dr. Adeleke Mamora. He told the ministers that the compound that made up the drug had exhibited a significant antiviral activity against SARS, which you know that is more deadlier than the COVID-19. So he said the drug discovery was started at University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and continued in the United States when he went for something. So that is coming from the former National INEC, chairman of INEC, that's Professor Wu, where he said that other experts, him and other experts, that he found a drug which could be a potential treatment against coronavirus. I think this is really putting a lot of courage in Nigeria, saying that we can do this and we can find a cure. You know, I was watching a video this morning where someone was making a joke, and he said that other diseases that have come to Nigeria, they don't actually survive it. Of course, if other countries can't find cure to it, Nigerians will find cure to it. That we will surely find cure to coronavirus and Lassa fever. Okay. And I believe in that.
Okay. Let's take this one about still the same coronavirus, and the fact that federal government is warning suppliers and retailers don't hike prices of face masks, sanitizers, and whatnot. And this is coming from on Friday when we heard about this whole last week Friday when we heard about coronavirus was in Lagos and all of that. We now started to see people say sanitizers have gone, they became very expensive. The normal sanitizer that you buy for 300 naira is like 1,000 plus. And there's one that even happened in my area, known pharmacy, that they even called them out on the internet. So there's this, the sanitizer has like,
different
volume. So there's one that is as big as from maybe like something here and here, and that one is not supposed to be too expensive. They're charging 20,000 naira for sanitizers, and that's why the federal government is calling it and saying that this is
so
not,
lots of people are just trying to make profits from
exactly.
this.
I see on some people's WhatsApp status or people sending messages and saying buy your corona masks and buy your sanitizers and all that. This is not supposed to be something that was supposed to be making money off from, because remember that if you can protect yourself and protect your neighbor, you won't have coronavirus. You should even be looking out for ways on how you can even disperse these things, like for free, or at least at the cheaper rate where
to stop this
anybody
thing from
can get to
spreading.
afford these things.
Because if this thing keeps spreading, also you are at risk. Your children are at risk, your family members are at risk.
It reminds me of the time when we had Ebola and some of our brothers decided to import like containers of sanitizer. They decided that the means of business move, and imported it all the way from China. Now China that has this coronavirus, they can't even import the sanitizers. So it means that some of the sanitizers they are selling are what they already have before the whole coronavirus incident. So let's try not to monetize these things like this, because it's really important that if you're safe and your neighbor is safe, you protect your environment. But if you're thinking about the monetary terms and your neighbor has it, how do you now it becomes worse. Even like we're looking at the papers and we saw a bunch of 3 people who were covered.
This picture was actually from here on the front page of the Punch with the guy that was just looking at them and just smiling and seeing that they're covering themselves. It's actually good to cover yourself, but most of the main important thing is just to take a look at some of the cautions that you need to take. look at this now. They are putting on their face mask, but there's a part of their face that is open.
They're still exposed, so
They're still exposed to these illness. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't also cover yourself. But mainly, regularly wash your hand. I think that's very important because mostly when we go out, we shake people.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with just using a little soap and water to wash your hands. If you just go out, step outside your room, coming back, just wash your hands, and there's some little precautions you need to take. Not necessarily these things, and use the sanitizers. But now that these people are saying these sanitizers are expensive, so it's really putting a lot of concerns on people who want to buy something that you now maybe normally you buy 500 naira, and now you're calling me for 20,000 naira. And we're still talking about the economy in Nigeria also.
Sure.
So how do you expect us to deal with this?
Yeah.
So okay, from there we go straight to moving on to other story. That's Osun State on Monday abolished same uniform policy and other 9 policies that are introduced to education sector by the immediate past administration of ex-Governor Ralph Aregbesola. And though this policy, when they adopted this policy, they retained the Okpoimo initiative that was also introduced by the same administration, and they scrapped the same uniform policy for all the schools, and same-sex schools, single-sex schools. Those they had been turned to mixed schools, single-sex schools that were turned to mixed schools during days. So they told them to go back to the same single-sex schools. So some of those things, although the Okpoimo this thing that was administrated, they said they will have to look at these and look for ways to introduce this and check more on it for the children, because we have some of the students, according to what I watched yesterday, they said that some of them will have some pornographic things on their on the tab, so they need to check it and look through it again. But they also agree that early childhood education should be restored in the state, and that the state will employ well-trained professionals to handle the early childhood education that has been suspended. And they agree that henceforth it will allow children to return to its old established and recognized public uniform instead of the same uniform. And moving on to the other story also, they said Supreme Court yesterday they adjourned the Imo State hearing of its Imo State and its candidates in March 9, 2019 governorship election. That's Emeka Ihedioha. So it has been adjourned today. And while the Apex Court also postponed the hearing in Zamfara State APC suit to March 17 to enable the applicant's effect service on all parties. And so you have more on the sacked Bayelsa.
Yeah, so the sacked Bayelsa Deputy Governor-elect wants to commit suicide, and this is said by Timmy Silvia, and he's saying that the Deputy Governor whose certificate scandal cost the All Progressive Congress, that's the Bayelsa State Governorship election seat, is on the verge of committing suicide. And he also said that if someone said, according to him, I quote, he says, if someone said you forged your certificate and you have built your life and integrity, and someone all of a sudden brings everything down, that can lead to suicide. So, but it just stems on, I don't think that if you are very sure of what you have as a certificate, I don't see how you want to commit suicide. But then the most important thing is that it's obvious that this man cannot be left alone. He needs people around him. And also, to me personally, I was saying things like he always has to call him like every day to ensure that it's okay and he's saying. I understand that everything happened within a short notice. Like the change was drastic, everything just happened, but then you need to take your time so you don't, if you're sure of what you have, then you should be thinking of committing suicide, because life will always happen.
It's not all rosy. Then moving on from that story, let's go to Kaduna State Governor Nasser El-Rufai. About the killings that happened in Kaduna over the weekend. So he apologized to the people of the states, and especially communities that they were attacked at the weekend. Said for his failure that is to protect, and that there will be no negotiations with the bandits. And he said that he confirmed that the bandits killed over 15 persons, including children, women, and old people. For his apology, said, and I quote, that I also came to apologize for failure to protect you fully. we are doing our best to minimize such incidents. You should continue to forgive us. So this is what is telling people. This, when it comes to this security, a lot of people have really shown concern over this weekend killing. Also 50 people, including children. This is really saddening for, I can imagine, the parents and also the families of those victims, how they're going to be feeling right now. So it's really a sad incident. But also the president, he also expressed sadness and regret over the killings that happened, that left several people killed and many people also injured. And Benue State Governor Samuel Tom also urged the federal government that they should strengthen the capacity of Operation Wellstroke and other security agencies to curb the menace of this pastoralist. And I don't know, I think the federal government are actually doing what they are doing the best when it comes to this, curbing these menace, but I think they also need to still.
That's why the president himself has also said that he's condemning the attacks, the cardinal attacks, and
he expressed his regrets.
He's going to ensure that his regime would step up on ongoing security operation and to end such attacks. It's every day in the news you get to read 50 killed, 30.
Apart from Friday when this coronavirus came into Nigeria, almost every day throughout last month we read one story about this insecurity in Nigeria. And the concerns of the people, people talking about it, and we have some people who are even saying, other parts of the states that these attacks have happened, saying that sometimes they are scared, not knowing if you go in and you come back home, and all this kind of statements. And fear and panic in the heart of the people it's really not something to stay with, and these kind of things are things that leads to some other forms of depression and different things. So
let's take some few comments, and this is from Joe Easy, and he's saying, imagine doctors without face masks while attending to said Italian man. Because the fact that
I think I saw that yesterday. Some doctors were attending, they were visiting the ward, and they were not with face masks.
That to be a medical doctor,
I think they know the best.
Exactly.
They know the best.
Yeah, and I think that the moment they noticed he had those things too, they would have also, tried to.
They would have known.
Protect himself. And this is from Tony Kelvin Sunday, and he says only God can save us from this end time calamity. And we take this one from Honors Lado. He says he's watching from Europe. We see you, Honors. Thank you for joining us this morning. You can also let us know where you're watching us from and send your messages and also your comments on what you think about the front pages of the newspaper as well. We would like to take some of your comments and also know where our listeners and our viewers are watching from.
Okay, so that's what you have on the comments.
Yeah.
And okay, so just to round up this, I think we should just talk a little, just tell the people that the best thing is for you not to panic when it comes to this coronavirus. Just look at some of the things that that you can do, and just follow the simple measures, simple ways to just protect yourself, and that's the best. Let's not panic, and you understand. But lastly, let's go to Mr. and Mrs. before we round up this. And there's people that matter every day, just keep surprising me. They always have something to say. They never run out of it. And Mr. is saying, what's the meaning of this? Cow I in my soup, why? And Mrs. is replying, that's for playing hide and seek with me over the 50,000 naira I asked for. You understand? Mr. is saying that why is the meat hiding in my soup?
Cowhide. I think that cowhide is pomo. Cowhide.
Okay, pomo. Yeah. Okay, so why is it hiding? Why is it in the soup?
Instead of having
meat, why is it in the soup?
Pomo in his soup. And as I'm telling you, this is the reason I'm selling you pomo, because you were dodging me. Instead of giving me 50,000, you were hiding from me.
So what he decides is pomo.
And now
pomo is also part of something now. It's not better than not having anything.
The cost of buying pomo in the market is not the same price as buying goat's meat or buying cow meat.
And this is telling you your money jeans.
This
is what your money can afford.
50,000 naira.
This is what your money can afford.
I'll give you what the money that you have been giving me can afford.
So why complain? Stop hiding. So why are you telling me that I'm giving you bomb.
Exactly. These people, they keep making us really like laugh every time we see
laugh, but you know, when you look at it, it's really something that you need to look at and watch. Okay, that is all for today on the Today in the News, and you know, we've given some of the analysis on some of the stories making waves on the front pages of the papers. And you know, to get more of our top stories and get more of our videos, you can like and follow us on our social media platforms, and also visit our website www.vanguardngr.com, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, it's showing on your screen, and we have other programs that are coming up after this, so don't go anywhere. You can still join us more later. But for now, on Vanguard Live Today in the News, it's bye from me, Damola Ogushaki, and also bye from my co-host Precious Chukwudi.
It's a virus that we haven't seen before, and it's something that all of us are learning as we go along. But all of you professionally have donated your time, your intellect, your skill to be part of this national assignment. We cannot but commend and thank you so very much for making this happen. And to say on behalf of the teeming Nigerians and Lagosians in particular out there, that there is no sufficient thank you that can be enough. We'll continue to pray for you. We'll continue to pray along with you. And at the end of the day, I believe that this will also come, but it will go behind us very, very shortly. In terms of us also scaling up the advocacy and the information that we'll have. Tomorrow, I've invited some of my fellow governors and some commissioners of health around Lagos, especially around the southwest, just so that we can explain to them where we are, what we've been doing, and for practitioners like yourselves to also come around this facility and see for themselves, you know, what all of you are doing, and be very appreciative of your efforts, but more importantly, to see how you can scale up right around the Federation centers like this. And like you always know, you know, nobody can sufficiently prepare. But what I said to someone is that facilities like this are what we call redundancies. You just have to build them, you know, and keep them, you know, alive for events like this. So we're doing that tomorrow. We're also calling all our local government chairmen, our CDAs, our medical officers of health, and our various local governments, you know, and so we're permeating the information right down to all our various stakeholders, just so that we carry them along, we inform them where we are, and we'll also be able to let them understand the very little things that they need to take back to their communities, you know, just as a source of confidence and assurance that government at all levels are not leaving everything to chance, and all of us are working together in a coordinated manner. So all of that will go out tomorrow, and I think even next tomorrow, there's also a bigger stakeholder that we're having with all of the transport road union officers and other stakeholders, you know, just so that we don't leave anybody in the dark. We need to explain to people, we need to